Well, we're still looking at the present food crisis and what that means for a large number of Nigerians, especially looking at that prediction or projection coming from the World Food Program, indicating that about 24.5 million Nigerians will definitely go without food this year alone, adding to the pool of already almost 100 million Nigerians that well, multidimensionally poor. But anyway, it's not a poor discussion, but a rich one that we still have right here with our guests. And we're talking of no other person but social critic and also farmer and comrade Francis Onaife. Well, anyway, it truly matters, and that's why we're looking at it. We're talking about the present food crisis, and not just only that, but the anarchy that seems to reign on account of the present problem being faced by the nation. Just yesterday, trucks were attacked in Kaduna, Ogun State, and were all looted. Looted in the sense that many persons now do not even differentiate between government and private-owned trucks and are now looting it. Many will say hunger is pushing people into criminality, and one, irrespective of whether government or private, that needs not to be looted. That's what we're still having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. And like I said, in case you're just joining us, well, you've missed a great deal. We looked at the reaction coming from no other but the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last 2023 election, when he was so disturbed that a war-torn country like Ukraine will be sending grains to a country that is not in war, but in deep hunger, Nigeria. But anyway, let's return back to it. And, well, we still have our guests right here, and it's only right. I'll just need to throw the questions to you. Before I went on the break, we talked about Nigerians and their lack of interest as a reason for the hunger in the land. And you feel different about that. You feel the insecurity in the land. It's a direct reason many farmers are not interested to go to farm. And I just want your reaction, because you were deep into it before we went on the break. I want us to continue on that trajectory. Yeah, we still do know that insecurity is cut across all the country. But we also do know that farmers are all over the country. But if we look at some major areas, it's not everywhere that the insecurity seems to be a problem. But yet, we still have more persons not interested to farm.
Yeah, there is this common saying that there is no smoke without fire. And when you look at a common saying, another common saying, it says that chase away the forces before blaming the chicks that wander into the bush. If you look at what is
sounding like Comrade Adama, but anyway, just go ahead. Go ahead, don't mind.
As a matter of fact, even though we're going to blame the government for what they are doing right away, for not putting in policies, policies and measures to cushion the effect of this so-called hunger in the land, but also the citizenry, they are not doing enough. They are not doing enough to ward off the issue of food insecurity. Why did I say so? When you are a citizen and you are not interested about the major pillars that will take care of the home, which are the primary pillars. For instance, we talk about feeding, clothing, and shelter. So you are supposed to know that feeding, for you to feed, you have to do something that will put food on your table. And you producing that food is another aspect. Nigerians are not interested, most of them, irrespective of the fact that we're having security today, even before the issue of insecurity. How do you expect peasant farmers to cater for more than 200 million Nigerians? Who is supposed to go to the farm to bring in this food produce? Who is supposed to cultivate and bring in these things? We Nigerians also, we don't expect foreigners to do that. You don't expect the government or the system to import food for us to consume. So Nigerians also, on their part, they are not doing enough to put food on their table in terms of agriculture. So people should go in, because we are talking about, we are still looking at most of the, we are looking at the part of the citizens now. They are not doing enough. They are the interest of citizens.
All you're saying is all the blame should not be hinged only on the table of the federal
because before now, they were not even doing enough to put food on their table in terms of agriculture.
And the mind you've stated that fact, I feel this discussion will not be complete if we do not come back home.
Yeah.
And when I mean home, we do not come to Delta State.
Yeah.
Because our primary constituent is here in Delta State, the big heart. Now, I'm a bit worried and a bit curious. And you will not blame me for being a bit curious. And the reason I'm going to ask this question now is Let's look at the issue of farming as a means of survival also in Delta State. And the reason I'm asking is because you're a farmer. Now, this is it.
Yeah.
We have one of the large number of fish farmers in the country in Delta State.
Yes, of course.
But the irony of it is that we still import fish from Kogi and other states. We have one large number of poultry farmers, bird farmers. But funny enough, we still import birds and eggs from Ondo and Ogun states. We pride ourselves as having one of the largest number of cassava farmers.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, Gary sold for 2,500 naira and 2,700 naira. And now I'm being forced to ask.
Yes, of course.
And now I'm being forced to ask, why are we not being able to deal with the issue of food crisis in the state? Yes, we've not, no truck has been looted yet.
Yes, of course.
But you will agree with me that undermining that, Deltans are not less hungry than other places that this is happening. So my question still remains, why are we hungry in the state?
Let me come from this angle. Let me come from the area you stopped. They are less hungry compared to other states. If at all you care to travel to other states especially. Yes, of course, they are less hungry because though Delta State, when you talk about agrarian lands in Delta State, they don't have much vast land to cultivate because we're in a mangrove area.
Okay, compared to other places.
Compared to other places. But when you talk about the people,
but I gave you some. I gave you
yes, of course.
Beautiful
now policies,
an advantage.
Yes,
that Deltans have over others.
Yes, policies matters. If you see the way the Americans and the Europeans they behave, it's because the system have skewed them towards their behavioral attitude. You see them displayed today all over the world. It is the system. When the system is
so are
not,
you saying the system,
coming, excuse me, the system, for instance, when you talk about Ogun State and Kogi State, we have like poultry, a lot of bird farms in Delta State, even fish farm in Delta State. But look at the cost of their feeding for you to buy one bag of at least a 25 kg of this feed, fish feed now. Costs for about 18,000 naira. Some 25,000 for you to feed. So a lot of them, they are going out of the business because the cost of feeding the fish is high.
It's not that same way in Ondo and Ogun.
Yeah, in most cases, if you've ever lived in the West before, the system there is different from the one we have here. Because sometimes the government, they mark a particular, the budget for things like this. They give out food, this feed, sometimes they give out to farmers because they know that the thing is going to come back to them. But in Delta State, you hardly see it, except the one that happened in December, where they give beds to farmers. But in Ogun State and Kogi State, no, the case is a different ball game entirely. They know that because if you go to the north, the way they give out fertilizers to farmers, it's not like that here. The way they give out seedlings to farmers there, it's not like that here. In Delta State, you have to source for your own feeding. For you to feed the best in Delta State, it's very high. By the time you end up selling your products, you will see that you are running at loss. That is the reason why you see that most of them, they are going out of business. So we have a lot of bird and fish farms here, but as we speak, some of them are out of business already because the government is not doing enough to assist farmers in Delta State.
Talking about the government.
Then, excuse me, you also talk about cassava farming.
Yes.
You see, there is one common norm in Nigeria, not only in Delta State. Everybody want to say, because they have dollarized the whole the system, so the dollar is high. How does dollar affect the local production of Gary? How does it affect it? Because it's going to tell you, when I sell this Gary, I'm going to buy other goods. I will transport. No, so the dollarization and the removal of subsidy is another issue. So when you talk about Gary, because Gary that doesn't take you because the same farmland, the same cassava stem, how come that the price of Gary is rising? Because they will buy other things after selling their Gary. So the thing is just like pari passu, is give and take. That is
well, anyway, looking at taking it further and to deepen our discussion, like I made mention, I was opportune to have a discussion with no other person but the Chief Executive Officer of Delta State Orientation Bureau and the Executive Assistant on Communication to the Delta State Governor himself. And I'm talking about Dr. Fred Latimer, organizer. We had a discussion last week. And the picture he painted, or he gave me, was Delta State government was doing so much in the area of assisting farmers. And I just want to ask you, because you stated earlier that you got assistance from the Delta State government late last year on account of poultry produce. But I'm really asking, because let's look at it. On the mining, you've highlighted most of the problems we're now being faced in the state and why you feel there are less food available in the state. I just want a quick reaction from you, especially as it concerns all of these efforts, plan, program being initiated by the Delta State government. Are they trickling down to the farmers in the state? Because that's the impression he gave me. And in what area are they really trickling down?
Good, I love that question, because I've been in the system and I'm still within their corridors. It's not trickling down. Because by the time you say give about 5,000 bags of feed to farmers, and you now give them 1,500, retaining 3,500, it's not trickling down. So when you're giving about 5% to farmers, is it trickling down? No. Some of them, because when you are in the system, you think that what you are doing enough, but your enough is not enough to take care of the farmers or those you are sending those things to. The executive, for instance, they will sit down and plan that at the end of the day, whatever we are giving out is going down to the farmers. Those middlemen between the executive and the farmers, they are the one that is going to redirect these things again. They redirect these things off the track of the farmers. So it's not really trickling down. They feel they are doing enough, but I'm telling you, I'm a farmer, they are not doing enough. For instance, what they brought that time to us, from the governor's office, was halved. The ones that trickled down to us, even within those ones that trickled down to us again, was equally halved. So the farmers, they got about, let me say, 25% of what came out from the government. So are they doing enough? To them, they are doing enough, because the monitoring is where the problem is coming from. You give out this, you are supposed to monitor what you are giving out, but they don't go down to the mainstream to monitor. They just give this in house and they just sit in the office and say, well, we are doing enough. But I'm telling you, the government should hear me today that whatever they are giving out is not trickling down to the citizens, especially the farmers.
So what do you feel they need to do?
They should set up a monitoring team from the top. They should be monitoring.
Still from the government?
Yes, of course. They are the one in charge. It's the government. The power resides with the government. So they are the one to monitor, not we. But
I don't understand. If Paul and Peter are brothers, who's going to arrest who?
No, you see it that way. Let me tell you, sometimes government could be sincere. Okay? They could be sincere, like Oborowori and the governor of Delta State now, Honorable Oborowori, could be sincere with what he's doing. Those people in between, they might not be sincere. Even those so-called...
so don't you feel the monitoring team can also be compromised?
Yes, I know that is why you said
That's why I said Paul and Peter.
No, they can be compromised. That is the intricate part of the whole issue. Nigeria is such a country that I don't really know how to define. Because sometimes you want to work. Now you put a monitoring team to monitor what you are doing. And at the end of the day, those monitoring and those that are monitored, or those that are monitored and those that are monitoring, they connive again. So what do we do now? If the executive themselves, because if you have enough to eat and to go home with, I don't believe that the little that will trickle down to the system will be siphoned by the the so-called middlemen. That is the reason why I told you the other time that when the farmers were protesting in UK, the Prime Minister went straight down to them to hear from them. The President of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, has he visited Delta State? Since they voted, but maybe he has visited me, but maybe I'm not aware. Has he visited? These guys, they go to local county chairs to visit what is happening, to see to what is happening over there. But here in Nigeria, you are elected as a president. Maybe for the 4 years tenure, once you will visit the state, just once. You won't visit that state again. We have only 36 states in Nigeria. What does it take the president to visit?
I want us to revisit the issue of having enough. Do you feel Delta State have enough to feed these people? Or do you feel that just like Niger State did a couple of months back, or a month or two ago, of putting a ban on not exporting food produce from here to other states, And the reason I ask is many will attribute also, you made mention, that the dollar is the reason for the high rate of Gary or the high price of Gary. But others will say no, that the Delta State Gary, which prides itself to be one of the best in the country, is also being exported to other parts of the state. Or country rather, sorry. So should we toe that line?
No.
Of having restriction as it concerns food produce here?
We don't do it now. Why are we a country? Why are we a country? If you
we're talking of ways of dealing with hunger, and we should talk of ways of feeding Delta.
The 52 states of America, the United States today, if you say that something cannot leave Washington, D.C. to New York, why is it a state?
But you said they have better structure.
That's what I'm saying. If you say something cannot leave,
you cannot compare their structure and ours.
You cannot say something will not leave because every state is unique. Our oil should not leave our state too. They should not take our oil. Eh? If you say your food cannot leave Kogi to Delta State, why should my crude oil leave Delta State to Kogi State? Then I retain my oil.
But let's remain with Delta.
No, I know what I'm saying. If you say you want to toe that line, it's not the best because there is no way you will not import or export to other states within the country. Because every state is unique. For instance, I told you in the course of the discussion that if you look at the large space of land we have, or expanse of land we have in Delta State cannot be compared to those in the North Central. So is
it not better we restrict our food and feed ourselves?
So if you restrict your food, is there anything that, okay, how are you going to get rice? Do you plant rice in Delta State? Do you plant beans in Delta State? How many tomatoes do you have in Delta State? Because of the weather.
But we do have starch, and I feel we really do have time to go on a break now. I'll plead with you to hold on. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at the present food crisis and ways to address them. And Comrade Francis feels putting a ban on them being exported away from the state is not the best. But anyway, what's the best thing for us to do now is go on that break, get the message, and we'll come back.